The following transmission is between myself and Letitia Lemon, Fallout 4 streamer, Bethesda Brand ambassador, and the voice that chimes in at the start of every single video update for the Fallout London mod project. Outside of being a fantastic challenge run streamer for Fallout 4, Letitia is also a model and a voice actress, having played roles in both the Once Upon a Wasteland series as well as the highly anticipated Fallout London mod for Fallout 4. Over the course of our conversation, we talk about Letitia's time as a streamer, her experience as a brand ambassador for Bethesda, and how her technical history and filmography education has shaped her expectations and thoughts on the upcoming Fallout Amazon Prime series. This is the Atomcast, and the best way you can show your support is by subscribing to our Patreon, as your monthly contribution will go towards improving the quality of transmission, as well as helping to decrease the time between uploads. As always, links to our Patreon, as well as the guest socials, will be linked in the description below. A happy belated International Women's Day, and without further ado, Letitia Lemon. Okay, give me a second here. I forgot which one did I want to actually start off with.
We'll keep all of this in. Just what are we doing?
Oh no, yeah, this is gonna be the entirety of what the first couple of minutes are gonna be.
Yep, totally professional right here.
Right, professional voice actor, professional interview. This is just professional city up in this piece.
Yep, we know what we're doing as far as everyone else knows.
Yeah. I guess a good place to start off specifically is I think the best place to start initially is to one of the things I like to do first is to, because at the beginning of every episode, and I'm pretty sure I say this every single time, I like to I give a little blurb about who the guest is, what they do, stuff like that. And I always like to throw that back at the guest and be like, in your own words, can you sort of describe and talk about and sort of reiterate who you are and kind of what your place is in the community, what you do, basically your elevator pitch.
Right, okay.
You're wasting a lot of time in this elevator pitch here. We're on the 4th floor.
That's fine. We've got to go to floor 50. We got plenty of time. It's a very tall building.
Right.
I am a well-known voice actor in the Fallout community. I've voiced in over 15 various mods, machinimas, audio dramas. 2 of them are actually award-winning audio dramas. Shout-outs to Once Upon a Wasteland and Truevar Escapades there for those. I am also a Bethesda ambassador with the UK team, so I get to work at events with all of them, promoting various Bethesda games, not just Fallout. We did the first QuakeCon Europe right before the pandemic hit, so that was a fun time that we will never get back. And we were technically some of the first people outside of America to get to play Doom Eternal, which was pretty cool. Nice little humble brag there. I also staff for the Fallout for Hope charity stream team, so I help to organize those events that we do every year, help new streamers get all set up, give them tips and advice, and just how to be involved in the community there. And also on my own Twitch channel, I primarily do Fallout 4 challenge runs. I've got 3,000 hours in that game, so there's a lot of challenge runs going on. So I do a lot of stuff in the community, basically, and it's just really fun to, do a little bit of everything that expresses my love for both Fallout and Bethesda in general, but in all these different ways, basically, and adding my own charm to it as well.
Besides not being American, which is already a very foreign concept for Americans in general, one of the most unique things about you specifically, or at least I think specifically, is your name. your
Yes.
name. So I've been mispronouncing it in my head this entire time. I like look at your name on like Twitter and Twitch and stuff like that, and I read your first
Yep.
name as like Lydia or like Lolita or something like that, and then like Lemon. And I'm like, man, she's like an anime character. And then I looked at your thing on Discord where you actually like put the proper pronunciation. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
Letitia. I'm just an
Yep.
idiot.
Oh, trust me, I've had so many different pronunciations and spellings over the years, and at this point, I just own it. I hated it as a kid because I would get so annoyed, but now I'm just like, I don't care. I find it funny. I just have a collection of different names that people give me.
You like write
There
them
was one
down.
time. Yeah, there was like one time on my Starbucks cup. I know they misspell names in Starbucks all the time, like it's for promo base. It's a really good way of doing promo because then you take a picture of the misspelt name and then you put it on socials and then people are like, damn, I want a Starbucks now. So it's actually really, really smart.
Yeah.
I'm waffling on already. I can't help it. I like to talk a lot. But they misspelt my name so egregiously that somehow there was a Q in it.
What?
And I'm like, I've had some weird spellings before, but how the hell do you put a Q in Letitia?
Laquisha.
It made no sense. And then there was one time where I think they tried to spell Natasha and then they butchered that as well. And I'm just like, okay, I give up with Starbucks. But yeah, my name is very unique. A lot of people think it's a stage name and they're just like, oh, why did you pick Lemon? And I'm just like, well, it's on my birth certificate, so kind of born with it.
Yeah, because that specifically is a very, very unique last name. I don't think I've heard anybody with a last name as unique as that before. And it
helps with the alliteration of the two names and the fact that they're both so unique. It makes them really stand out, which I'm very grateful for in my adult years.
And they're very like similar to each other as well. They have like similar beats, like Letitia Lemon.
Yeah.
There's like a rhythm to it.
Yeah, like at school, I didn't get like bullied, but like people would tease me about my name. Like I wasn't like, one of those kids that was bullied all the time. But yeah, people would just find my name funny at school. And that was the one thing that did annoy me at times. But, at least it was just my name, so that's fine. But it did really make me hate my name until I went to university where no one had ever met me before and I could be my own person. And I was like, oh my gosh, people like my name here. Yeah. Now I kind of like it too.
It's funny how stuff like that kind of works out.
Yeah, like I remember there was a point where I was debating changing my name because I hated it that much when I was younger, but I just wouldn't know what to change it to. But yeah, now that I've grown up, I'm like, yeah, I own this name. This is me. Yeah. There's not many other Letitia Lemons out there. So, I'm gonna make it my thing.
Yeah. That's cool. It's always good to like, just kind of like play the hand that you're dealt and be like, this is what I got. What's up, world? Bring it.
Exactly. And as I said, I just find it humorous now when people butcher my name. I'm like, good attempt.
Yeah. Like, nice try, buddy. And then you do a sick backflip.
Yep. Like, I find the spellings funnier than the pronunciations, though, because most of the time when people try to spell my name, it's already in front of them. And I'm like, do you just not read?
Right. Like, do you also struggle with the English language?
It's just funny.
You said that you do a lot of voice acting work. Obviously, you talked about Once Upon a Wasteland, which we actually had Brad on for an earlier podcast episode, talking about the show and everything like that.
Yes.
And for I'm pretty sure you also mentioned it before. We did a lot of talking before actually doing the recording, so I can't remember if you literally just mentioned this like 5 minutes ago, or I'm just remembering it from like an hour and a half ago when we originally started. But for anybody,
don't tell the people,
right?
They don't need to know our shameful secrets.
That is the you also worked on Fallout London, so for anybody who is like recognizing your voice specifically, who's not like, you know, a regular on your stream. You're like the introductory narrator for pretty much all of Fallout London's like update videos. You know, you come on, you're like, hello, it's Letitia.
Yep, and I go, welcome back to Old Blighty.
Exactly.
And then I sign off every video, and I mean every video,
Mind
with
the gap.
Stay safe, and remember, mind the gap.
Exactly.
Like, even in real life, when we meet up at, like, Comic Cons and stuff, or do super secret Fallout London team meetups that no one else gets to know about, I still have to leave by saying, mind the gap. It's just a thing that I do now.
And then everybody hits the Wojak face and like, oh, she said, oh.
Yep, it's just the thing. Like, I voice probably about like 6 or 7 characters actually in the mod as well. One of them, or is it 2 of them? I don't know if it's 2 of them or 1, but I know definitely one of them has already been subtly revealed quite a while ago, actually. But my voice was so different in it that no one knew it was me until I said that was me. But yeah, I've been doing various voices for Fallout London for about 4.5 years now. I was one of the first voice actors on the team, and I believe I was the first female voice actor on the team.
Okay, that's interesting. Was like, because I mean, I guess there are people who just kind of like fall into voice acting and stuff like that, but for London specifically, since you've been working on it for so long, or sorry, working as a part of it for so long, was it like one of the first voice acting things that you did, or did you do like other stuff before it? Because you are also like a model and an actor and stuff like that. And me, myself, I don't know if many people know this about me, but I was in independent film for like a little bit, like a couple of years actually, like local stuff, nothing that kind of like went super viral or super crazy. But I also have a lot of experience in like acting and stuff like that, and voice acting specifically is one of those things that gets paired very well with that. So did you fall into voice acting because of your connection with Fallout London streaming, or was it like something that you were going for as an actor, or just something that just happened to work out in your favor because you were already doing acting?
So this is actually going to be a very long and complicated story of how it all happened, because I did not actually anticipate becoming any sort of performer, because believe it or not, as a child, Letitia was very shy and insecure and had stage fright and didn't like attention. But basically, when you become an actor, whether you like it or not, you become an attention seeker. You become someone that likes people acknowledging them. I don't know what extent of colorful language I can use here.
You can say anything as long as, you know, it's like a bad word.
That's fine.
You have to exclusively say bad words.
Because I was going to say, actors are attention whores.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That is what we are.
As an actor myself, I don't know. I acted in a couple of independent movies, so I can't call myself like a full-on actor. I was more so better on like the behind-the-scenes stuff, but I've done a little bit of acting, and I've interacted with a lot of people who do acting and voice acting, and yeah.
Yeah, no, so we're basically attention whores, which is something I wasn't for a very long time. So back in ye old days when I was so much younger, I went to university to study film and television, so not acting, because I had the intent of working behind the scenes. I actually wanted to be a cinematographer or a floor manager, or just someone that works in the production side of things. Like, I loved cinematography, but I also loved just sort of being in control of everything else that was happening in the studio. I wouldn't take on like a director or producer role at that time. I wouldn't. It would probably would have been something I wanted to do as a career, but at that time I was just like, no, I just like being in the studio doing stuff with cameras. And then obviously at university you're kind of strapped on your actor pool. So a lot of people just have to act whether they like it or not. I did a little bit of acting stuff. I did a bit of presenting. A lot of our lecturers work in the industry as well, and one of our lecturers was like, oh, you have a really nice, soothing voice to listen to. You're very animated when you speak. Like, obviously, you can't see me right now, but I'm like doing hand gestures and like moving around while I'm speaking because I can't be still.
And for
I
and
have
for
to
like
move.
for like proper context for the audience, for her British teacher to say that her British voice is soothing, that's a pretty big deal. Because us lowly Americans, like we hear the posh British accent, and we either think like, you damn redcoats, or like, wow, she's so prim and proper and everything. And like, no, this is like next level praise.
Yeah. So yeah, they just sort of liked how I presented myself just as a person. And I'd had a lot of charisma and personality. So I started doing a little bit of on-camera stuff, just like student projects, both like acting and presenting like sort of talk shows and game shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I started to like it a lot more. I was less camera shy, so that was nice. And then after university, I was like, I kind of like working in entertainment stuff. So I got a job at an escape room. So we did a little bit of, hosting the games there. We did a little bit of like character acting. But then unlike a lot of other escape rooms, especially at that time, we're talking like 7 years ago now. Oh my God, I just realized it's been 7 years since I got that job. Wow.
Damn.
I'm old now.
Don't worry, the last 4 years have been like 20 years, so it doesn't matter.
It just doesn't feel like 7 years ago. But yeah, like at the time, not many other escape rooms had the hosts giving clues in character, like we do it over walkie-talkies. So instead of a lot of other rooms where they would just have like clues coming up on screen or whatever, we would give the clues in a character voice. So there was an element of voice acting there. So like, we'd have a secret agent character who would have to give you some intel on your mission and like give you some clues on how to save the world. So they were a more well-spoken person. And then we'd have like a prison escape room. So I'm trying to think how my character sounded. They were, how did they sound? Well, they had to be American because it was Alcatraz. My character, she had more of a gruff voice. She really didn't care. She was like, you could do this if you want to escape, but whatever. You get caught, then it's your own fault.
You gotta hit a little nasally, hit that Boston accent.
But then we also had like prison guards for that room as well. So we had to do 2 different characters for that one room. Mm-hmm. And my prison guard had a very stern, very deep voice. She was very commanding, and she was just gonna straighten everybody out, make sure they stayed in their cells, didn't want any trouble. Mm-hmm. So you sort of had to create the character with the voice, which is something that I was very good at there. We had another room as well, that we could just kind of do whatever we wanted with. It was like a haunted, spooky room. So I just did a very like eerie and ethereal voice for that. But yeah, that was when I sort of learned of the concept of immersive theatre. So yeah, things like escape rooms, or like for my fellow Brits out there, like London Dungeons, or like secret cinema. So it's like where you're performing with an audience as opposed to an audience.
Yeah, it's an interactive,
like they become part of the story.
Interactive audience experience.
Yeah, so like I started doing things like that on top of the escape room job, and I just really liked performing, which was something I never thought I would do because, as I said, I used to have stage fright. But performing with an audience just made it so much more fun. And then with that escape room job as well, obviously with the little bits of voice acting that I did, I started networking with people at like Comic Cons, like other actors from these various immersive jobs that I did. And they mentioned like professional voice acting. And then I actually got my first voice acting job outside of immersive theatre, literally at a Comic Con. We were in a pub that was next to the venue for Comic-Con, and there were these guys that were like, yeah, we're making an animated web series and we need voice actors, specifically female voice actors. I noticed a trend very early on that a lot of projects I was in needed females, and I am female.
Spoiler
But I
alert
also like to think it's
for
because of
anybody.
my talent, but also because female.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's because woman.
and yep. And like I was like, okay, I can do that. Just let me, see the scripts, learn a bit more of the characters, and then I started doing that, and then I started looking at like different casting sites, and I started trying a little bit of voiceover stuff. I got my first like quote unquote professional microphone probably a few months after that because like I wanted to have a good quality microphone for that first actual voice acting job.
Do you remember what microphone it was?
It was a Blue Snowball,
Awesome.
so very very cheap, but
That's
very
it.
very good as well.
Fun fact, that's the same microphone that I have and am using to record right now.
Same.
It's a good
But
it's a good microphone. I get asked every once in a while, like,
it is.
what do you use for your setup and stuff? Like, oh, I use like a $40 microphone I got from Best Buy. It sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't believe me when I say it's a Blue Snowball, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Really? It sounds so good." I'm like, "I know." And it saved me so much money, especially back then when, I wasn't doing as much of the acting work as I do now, so I wasn't making as much money. So yeah, I got that microphone, did that web series. I found a casting call for another animated series, which I ended up being 4 characters in that, which was amazing. Unfortunately, they never finished production on all of the episodes, and I don't even know if they're available online anymore. So, as far as I know, that's lost media.
Can you
which
say
makes me
what
sad.
can you say what the product or what the production was?
It was called Almiere. It was like a British superhero kind of thing, but like all the superheroes were like vigilantes. So it was kind of like The Incredibles, but British, but also not. There were like, it's difficult to explain, but yeah, there were like these superhero people that, the government were like, oh, superheroes are bad, we can't trust them with all their powers and stuff. But then like, it also followed this story of all these school kids that were like, yeah, we want to be superheroes too, and it'd be really cool and stuff. It was a really fun project.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
That sounds like it'd be really fun. Sounds like an
Yeah,
interesting story.
It's just a shame that I don't actually know what happened with it. I do actually have the full visual novel, like, still in my room. It's like 600 pages.
Yeah.
But it's really cool.
The show Bible.
Yeah, and it's like I can just look at the at like all the characters there because it's a graphic novel. So like I could just see all the panels and stuff and be like,
Nice.
look at what all these people would be doing if the series was still a thing.
That's really cool.
But it was really fun. I voiced 4 characters in it. One of them was a parody of our, at the time, Prime Minister, Theresa May. So that was fun, pretending to be a Prime Minister. And I was like, okay, interesting. So yeah, I did that. And then Fallout London was actually the project I did after that one. But then the first Fallout London video that I was in came out before the first episode of that series came out. So while I recorded Fallout London after that, it came out before it. Because production is fun and every company works at different paces. So yeah, like I had those 3 first projects like back to back because I wanted to try something a bit different than all of the immersive stuff. And I was like, well, I can just record this at home. I don't need to travel to a location to do anything. Now I have a microphone, I'll just record at home.
Yeah.
So then I did. And, the more voice acting roles that I got, the more accents and pitches and age ranges I started to learn as well. And now it's like half the voices that I do. Back then, when I started, like 6-7 years ago, I would have had no idea I'd be able to do them. So it's just fun that, however many projects you do, you're still learning things, and that's what I love. That's what always gets me wanting to do more. Because no 2 characters that I voice are the same.
Do you think that, because you mentioned that when you were younger, you were like more so like introverted, and really like enjoy like, being up on stage, doing stuff like that, which I think that sometimes people equate like actually like stage fright specifically. You get up and have to do like a presentation or something. I think some people have a misconception that doing that is like a directly similar to like streaming or having like an online presence, because when I was younger, I was very much the same. I had a lot of anxiety about being in front of people and like doing like presentations and stuff like that. But then as I did more content creation, like streaming, YouTube, stuff like that, I started to have a little bit more confidence in it and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I think it's still a very different situation, like being on a physical stage and, being in front of like a mic and just like having an online personality and presence and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But more so, do you think that when you were younger, being more introverted and stuff like that, helped in how you transitioned from a more introverted, quiet personality to a more, maybe not extroverted, because it's difficult to say when somebody goes from introverted as in just their regular lives to becoming an online content creator and becoming seemingly more extroverted. Do you think being more introverted at a younger age kind of helped you to develop either knowingly or unknowingly the skill set to become more extroverted or more comfortable with at least talking in some sort of pseudo public sphere?
Well, I think for me, the thing is that, like, when I was younger, I always had an issue of acting. It wasn't a case of, presenting in general. It wasn't a case of having attention on me in general. It was just acting.
Mhm.
Like, I struggled with becoming other characters. I struggled with learning lines because I'm such a perfectionist that, like, if I got a line wrong, I'm just like, well, everything's ruined now. But I could present just fine. Like, at school, when we'd have to do class presentations all the time, I would get up there, talk everyone's ears off. Like, a presentation that's meant to last 10 minutes, mine would last 20 minutes, but it would just be so jam-packed full of information. I'd be moving around the classroom, like making eye contact with people, doing gestures as if I was on a stage at like a Comic-Con speaking to thousands of people. Like, I would just do that so naturally at school. One of my teachers, I remember he said that I should get into presenting or hosting. Funnily enough, that's where I'm at now. So he was right there. But, I wouldn't be one of those kids that would just like half-ass everything, like sort of put together a really crappy PowerPoint presentation, and I would just like have my back to the class reading off the screen, or like have a sheet of paper in front of my face standing cemented to the spot, and I'd be moving around, I'd be pointing at the screen, using it as like a prompt, and be like, yeah, this picture here, I'm gonna tell you like 50 things about this picture right now, and then I'm gonna read off like 2 bullet points on that screen that is then gonna prompt like a whole paragraph of things I'm gonna say. Like, I was very good at taking a bullet point and then just improvising my way through a whole explanation of things. Like, I'm a very good host that can improvise.
So
And that was sort of where I thrived. I was much better at improv than I was at learning specific lines to follow a scripted story.
Gotcha. So more so you were just a good
I'm a good talker.
Yeah, you were quiet. You were just good at like when you needed to talk, you could do that easily. I remember very specifically a lot of the like real life acting stuff I did most of it with one guy specifically, and because like learning, like remembering lines and stuff is always a little difficult. But he had a very specific philosophy where it's like, so long as you get like the basic intention of what the character is trying to say, or the like the basic general like tone and stuff like that. So like, for example, like, oh, your character in this scene, he just hit somebody with his car. He needs to be all like, oh man, like I can't go to jail again, man. Please don't sue me. I don't got insurance and stuff like that. As long as you're putting on like a presence like similar to that, if you don't say the lines like specifically, like exactly how they're printed on paper, it's not the big deal. You just
exactly.
You just have to be able to improv enough to get the point that the line is trying to convey, whether or not it's to the letter.
Exactly. Like you just need to be able to advance the story in the way that's, implied on the script. You have to react in a way according to your character's personality and the situation around them, but you don't have to get the lines 100% perfect. But because I have such a perfectionist brain, if I can't get things word for word perfect, it would frustrate me and it would stress me out, and I think I just ruined everything. So I could not do acting as a kid. And I think it's mostly because, like, back at school, I was, not to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but I was the smart kid. I was, like, the straight A student, without even trying, to be honest. Like, I didn't study for anything. I was really good at remembering things. Like, my brain would absorb information like a sponge. And then, like, all the other kids thought I'd just, like, go home, do my homework immediately, and, like, study. And I'm just like, nah, I'd go home, play video games, forget about my homework, do it the night before. I was a quote-unquote, like, normal kid in terms of my attitude to school.
Yeah.
I only liked school because I could see my friends. I hated being cooped up in a classroom for 6 hours a day. I hated that as much as everyone else did. But I knew how to respect the teachers because, they're just doing their job, so I wouldn't be rude and interrupt them. And I just, make all my notes in class, and then go home and play video games until, like, 3 a.m., like a smart person would.
What were the kinds of video games you played until 3 a.m.?
All of them. It was mostly because at that time I was in my teens, and that was when I first started getting into RPGs. So it's mostly like Final Fantasies, because long, lengthy games with a lot of cutscenes and character development, and it just had me hooked. And then time would just sink away, and I'm like, oh, I haven't done my homework yet. Whoops. And then, like, games I played as a kid, I would just play for like a couple of hours and whatever. But at that point in my teen years, I was starting to get into more developed storylines. So it would take a lot longer to actually finish games. And then I just wouldn't study. And yet I still got straight A's. But I think because I was a straight A student, I'm trying to generalize it for America, because I'm assuming a lot of people listening are American, because we don't call them straight A students in England. I'm just generalizing. But yeah, I was that kind of student, and there was a lot of pressure put on me because of that, because all the teachers were like, oh, Letitia knows everything, she'll get all the answers right. And then all the other students were like, yeah, you'll answer every question for the rest of us, so none of us have to, be picked on by the teachers. And like, it was so stressful always having to be right all the time, because if I ever got anything wrong, anyone would just be like, oh my god, Letitia got something wrong. Are you, like, sick or something? Are you getting stupid? And it stressed me out so much. And I think that's where my perfectionism came from, and to a more severe extent in actually the past decade, my anxiety that I was diagnosed with when I was at university, which, I started university 10 years ago. And yeah, it was all because of at school. I had so much pressure put on me. Like, I would end up going to every award ceremony because of whatever subjects at school and stuff. So it was just a lot of, like, it was nice feeling appreciated for my efforts, but both the students and the teachers just put so much pressure on me. So when it came to, like, memorizing things, like a script, for the acting stuff, it terrified me. But then, like, with presenting, I can just talk about whatever I want. Sometimes there's a teleprompter, which that helps, because then you just have the script in front of you. But a lot of the time when you're presenting, you're just yourself, or, a more hyped up, energized version of yourself. When you're presenting, most presenters that I know of anyway, don't become a different person. Like, it's kind of different with streaming, because with streaming, whether people realize it or not, they behave differently because they're in front of a camera. And a lot of streamers, they're not excuse me, they're not actors or performers, but they know they have a camera in front of them, so they're gonna behave differently. Like, whether they're a little bit more smug where it's like, yeah, I know how to play this game. Or like, they're trying to be a bit more edgy with their jokes and kind of skirting that line of what's acceptable and what's not, just to get the controversies and stuff. Like, people who stream are gonna be someone else, whether they realize it or not. But with presenting and with performers who present, it's the one time where you get to still be on a stage or in front of a camera, but you're not pretending to be someone else. Whereas, when you're acting in a show or performing in a piece of theatre, you are someone else. So I think a lot of actors that do presenting as well kind of find that relief of getting to be themselves but still do their job. Like, a lot of the time we'd like to do acting so we don't have to be ourselves, but sometimes it's nice to just not have to memorize a whole other person's existence,
Do you know, like, what kind of person you are when you stream? Like, how you're different from, like, the actual you?
I'd say when I stream, there's not too much of a difference, but I know there is a difference. Like, as I said, everyone has a difference, whether they notice it or not, whether they realize it or not, whether it's intentional or not. Everyone is different as soon as they have a camera on them. Even if they're just like, filming something for like social media, they're a different person. Like, that's just fact. For me, when I stream, I'm very chatty anyway, but when I stream, I'm a bit more selective on how chatty I am. So I do talk about, aspects of my non-streaming life, but I'm a bit more closed off about it than I would be with my actual IRL friends, because, they know me.
Yeah.
Whereas with streaming, it's a case of most of the people watching your streams don't know who you are. And, for your own security's sake, it's better to not reveal too much of yourself. Like, I know some people have a whole different identity when they stream. Like, a lot of VTubers, they have a very creative way of protecting their identity. But for me, I like having that personable approach, but still having boundaries. Where it's like, I am a human. I'm not infallible. Like, a lot of streamers, content creators, entertainers, actors, all these people that work in the entertainment industry, they are looked up to like they're a golden figurine on a pedestal. But it's like, at the end of the day, we're humans as well. We're just doing our job. Or for my case in streaming, it's not a job. I'm just playing video games because I like them.
Right.
But I try to be very human when I stream, but also a little bit reserved with what I say. I also, I'm quite sarcastic normally anyway, but on stream I like to amplify a little bit of that sarcasm a bit, because I find that part of my charm is that even when something really insane or really dramatic happens on stream, I always have a very typically British, dry, witty remark to it. It's how I am as a person anyway, but on stream, it's like the game that I'm playing just gives me so much setup material that my brain is like, I have 5 different snarky responses to this, but which one should I go for?
And why am I not going to go for the one that's Oscar Wilde?
Exactly. But yeah, I find that my streaming persona, as opposed to my real persona, is a little bit more reserved in the more humanitarian talk. But then the sarcasm, I was going to say, is amped up to 11. It is IRL. It's amped up to 12 on stream. I'm so much more sarcastic. But as I said, it's part of the charm.
I've checked out your channel. I guess that's what they would be called on Twitch. I always forget like what they're called specifically on Twitch. Channels, networks, streams. I don't know, but I've checked out a couple of your live streams before. And you play a very select number of games on your history as it is right now. It's like 90% Baldur's Gate, a couple of Fallout 4, and then like 2 Skyrims. So like I guess because like I have here in my notes and stuff a couple of notes related specifically to your streaming choice and like the games you play and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
but since your streaming catalog rather is so limited, I guess I'm gonna have to generalize the question a little bit. But like, what are like the what's the best game you've played? What's the worst game you've played? And what's if I'm pretty sure if this doesn't make sense, let me know. What's the best worst game you've ever played?
Okay. Well, yeah, for my streaming library, it's only sort of condensed itself recently just because of my work schedule with all the other stuff that I do. You know, I said at the start that I have like 7 different entertainment careers, which, versatility for work and demonstrates my wide skill set, but
Mhm.
also is a detriment to my free time and my sanity. But, both of those things are severely overrated. No one needs free time or sanity. God,
No,
no. Disgusting. Um, but
no.
I actually used to be, like, I started off as a variety streamer.
Mhm.
Then Fallout 4 entered my life. Not even just it entered the library, it just entered my life because I was a Fallout 4 virgin when I played it on stream for the first time.
Right.
Um, that entered my life. It consumed my life. I'm just condensing all this down. I got backed into a corner of only streaming Fallout 4 because I hate saying this because everyone who knows me knows that streaming isn't my career. I don't want to make streaming a job. It's too stressful, and I won't enjoy video games if I make them work. But Fallout 4 was also the thing that brought in the numbers.
Mhm.
I almost became a partnered streamer through Fallout 4. So I was like, okay, we'll do a lot of Fallout 4. But then I realized I was stuck just streaming Fallout 4.
Mhm.
So then I started to dip my toes into a few other games again. It went okay. It was fine. It wasn't great, but I was like, okay, now I'm back into variety. Then Fallout 76 became a thing. So then I just became a Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 channel. And
Diversification.
then yeah, and then I realized I did the same thing again. Um, so then I came up with the idea of having a schedule where it's like I'd have my reliable weekly Fallout content, but then I'd also have a couple of slots in the week that would be for those variety games. I kind of treated my schedule as like a TV channel, which I mean it kind of is, but it's
Mhm.
like online. But I would schedule it in that way where it's like, oh, Mondays is I can't even remember what my old schedule was, but Mondays was like a backlog game that I've never played before, so we get brand new reactions to stuff and I don't know what's gonna happen. And then Tuesday streams was like my flashback streams where it's like a game I have played before but I haven't streamed it before, so I'm like, let's relive why Letitia likes this game kind of feel, and then like whatever was going on in the rest of the week. And then, as you pointed out, my schedule these days is just Fallout 4 and Baldur's Gate 3.
It's
Because
mostly Baldur's Gate 3. Like, let's be
those
honest
those
here.
those games have a chokehold on my existence. But it's like Fallout 4 is just a part of my soul now. It's gonna be a thing that's never leaving my channel. Like I streamed it so much, and then when I got my platinum trophy, I didn't want to stop streaming it. Not just for the numbers, I just really liked the game, and then that's where all the challenge runs came in. And now I'm like, I'm too invested in the challenge runs. I have too many ideas for challenge runs, and I'm having too much fun doing them as well, because it's one of few games that, without sounding too arrogant, I would argue that I'm pretty damn good at.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say I'm the best Fallout player in all, because that's very subjective. Like, how would you define the best? But I know a lot about that game. People come into my streams all the time and they learn new things about how Fallout 4 works. They learn new mechanics. They learn new skips and bypasses, or sometimes new new glitches in the perfectly flawless Bethesda games that just work.
Can you give us an example? Like the most recent or one that stands out in your brain?
There was one time where I died by falling in water. And it's like, you can swim in Fallout 4. I just died by falling in water.
Hmm.
So that was fun. And everyone else was like, what happened? So I think my character just like slipped off a boat, bashed her head, got concussion, and then drowned.
Right.
That's what I think happened. Because like literally it was like, all those old video games where they didn't know how to do water physics. So it was just you touch water and you die.
Yeah.
It was like that. But I was like, hang on, I've been swimming in this game before. I know water doesn't kill me, so why did I insta-die?
Weird.
So yeah, that's probably one of the more iconic ones that no one else had seen before I did it.
That must be like a physics thing, because I remember seeing a video of like some guy who just like he walked up and like bumped into a car and somehow like hit it at like just the most perfect angle.
Yep.
To where it just dropped his health to 0 like instantly.
No, I literally had that like a couple of weeks ago, not even kidding. Like I was just walking up a street, I gently nudged a car, and it's literally like a blink and you'll miss it moment. The car just shot up into space, and with it shooting up into space, I just dropped dead. Like
that's amazing.
I went back into my stream. I clipped it.
Mm-hmm.
I kid you not, I watched the clip about 50 times. I slowed it down. I paused it frame by frame. And there is literally only one frame of the death animation where you can see the car shoot up into space. It's one frame.
Fallout 4 cars are the greatest thing that has ever existed ever. They're so fantastic. They blow up when you shoot them. They kill you instantly.
I love how they just don't work in any way, shape, or form. They're just there to murder you, and I love it.
They're just there to stand there menacingly.
Yeah, I had never had a car death before, and then I had one. Like, literally no one in my chat knew what happened. It was genuinely a blink and you'll miss a moment. I think the clip is still pretty recent on my channel, but it just confused the hell out of me. Like, I didn't know what happened, and I just spotted the car in the top left corner of the, because like when there's the death animation, you just go into third person mode and it just like slow-mos your character collapsing on the floor.
Yeah.
Like the car was just gone by the time it transitioned from first person to third person. Like that's how quickly the car went into space.
Jeez.
It was already gone. It was literally in there for one frame. So yeah, that happened. That was fun. We went off on a tangent again, but hey, Fallout 4, it owns my soul.
That is kind of the gist. Yeah, that was kind of the whole point. One of the things that I've noticed that's interesting is, whenever I ask you more generally, like about like games and stuff like that, you'll always say Fallout 4 specifically instead of Fallout, which is something that I've noticed that other people will say. Partially because I prompt them like, what got you interested in Fallout and stuff. But you've also mentioned playing a lot of Fallout 76. We talked about that briefly before. Well, briefly in the relatively almost like 3 hours we've been here.
Briefly in the Letitia sense.
Right. But we've talked a little bit about
means.
It's all relative. We've talked a little bit about Fallout 76, and you've talked a little bit about Fallout 76, and yet you kind of always define it more so as like Fallout 4 instead of Fallout. Yep. Have you branched out much into like Fallout 3, New Vegas? Obviously you've done like 76 and stuff like that. But have you like, branched out and explored other Fallout titles before?
I have, but as I said, like Fallout 4 is the one that became sort of, in a weird sense, it became like my child on my channel. I just loved and nurtured the game. The numbers came in, the follows went up, the views went up. I was addicted to how it played. And then obviously all the challenge runs just got me even more hooked on it, and it just became a part of my life. Like, I will not be who I am without Fallout 4. It is literally part of my existence now as a creator, as a gamer, as just a person on the internet. I am Fallout 4. But I have played other Fallout games. It's just none of them
Hearing you say,
became so prominent in my life.
hearing you say "I am Fallout 4" in your posh British voice and not being Todd Howard is a trip.
One day I will meet Todd Howard. It will happen, and it will be a beautiful moment. I need to meet thy god.
Right. You gonna
I have to.
Which kind of fan are you? Are you the fan that's gonna go in for the handshake, the hug, or the kiss?
I will probably have a panic attack and be like freaking out the whole time and not knowing what to say.
Right, like
which is funny because of my career and like I've worked at so many events with very notable people before. Yeah. I've learned how to compose myself.
Yeah.
But with Todd Howard, I'm like I can't. Like this man has defined who I am as a person because of the games that he's worked on.
Right. And then he'll be all like, well, clearly she doesn't just work, and then he'll put on his Oakleys and then kind of like turn away, and there'll be like that guitar riff.
I feel like he'd more just be like, security, get this weirdo away from me.
Right. I don't know. I've talked with people. Okay, I've talked with people who have like met and like worked with Todd Howard. And they say he
seems like an absolutely lovely person, but yeah, I just feel like I would cease to function if I meet him. My brain would just stop working.
Right.
But yeah, no, Fallout 4 is the one that I know the best. I'm most accustomed with. Like, as I said, I have 3,000 hours in that game. I don't think any other Fallout game comes close. Not even 76. I played a lot of 76 for a while, but then I just kind of fell off of it. But I have played Fallout 3. I have New Vegas. Don't judge me. I've not played it. I'm ready for people to hate on me in the comments for not playing it.
I mean,
I don't have time. Okay, it's a long backlog.
Well, like you said specifically, like you have Fallout New Vegas, and the judgment was already cast the second you phrased it like that.
Yeah, I have it. A very lovely viewer from my streams gifted it to me a long time ago, and then one of my mods actually for my birthday, which was last week, he got me like the collector's edition of Fallout New Vegas, so I have all the like goodies that came with it as well. So
stuff, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I have like all the little souvenirs and things, and that's awesome. I will get around to playing it when I get time. But yeah, I haven't played it, but I own it. I know things about it because I'm one of those people that I'm like, I don't care if I know what happens in a game before I play it, because it's like how I imagine things happening will be different to how they look on the screen. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, my assumptions based on spoilers are just something completely different. So yeah. I'm one of those people that I don't really care too much about spoilers. It's just in my stream chat, people are gonna be like, oh, but you have no spoilers on. Yeah, because I don't want people coming in my chat being dicks for the sake of being dicks and spoiling things for other people.
Yeah. Been there.
Like, that's rude, and I don't appreciate rudeness.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't care. Like, I will read stuff online about games and TV shows that I'm in the middle of playing or watching, and it would just be spoiling stuff, and I'm just like, well, I'm reading words. Yeah. You know, it's not the same as watching it. So I know things about New Vegas. I just haven't played it. I have played bits of Fallouts 1 and 2, but I never finished either of them. And back when my channel was more variety based, I did do a lot of Fallout Shelter as well, because that was just a really nice cozy game that was still, you know, I was going to say the Fallout genre, that's not the word, the Fallout franchise, there we go.
Yeah.
It's still the Fallout franchise, but it was just a really nice cozy game, and I played that game very differently to how other people played it.
Oh yeah?
I would make up stories for every dweller that would come into that vault. So, like, I'd give them a name and a backstory and, like, their relationships with other characters and stuff. It was, like, a whole thing.
I think that's kind of, like, how people play that game in general, because it's kind of just, like, human nature, you know, especially since
I would do that for my streams. So I'm like, okay, so here's this new dweller. Let me tell you about what happened to them before they got to the vault. And oh, you're not going to believe this, but like this person and this person, they hooked up and oh, she's pregnant, look at that. Or oh, this person had an affair with this person and they're not too happy about it. And like, I would actually write down all of this stuff, and I would like write down the family trees so that, you know, there wouldn't be
any kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, I would keep track of all of this, and it's like everyone would just be like, I've never seen anyone put this much work into Fallout Shelter before. Like, people just get their dwellers, max out their stats, get all the good gear, and then they stop playing the game. And I'm like, no, this is story time.
Yeah,
This is
especially
where Letitia just chats about absolute bollocks for like 4 hours, just talking about all this nonsense that she literally is making up off the top of her head. This is why I said I was good at improv.
especially since so much of Fallout Shelter is like story based.
Yeah, like even the dwellers that are based off of characters from the other Fallout games, I was like, no, they're getting different lives here. I actually gave Colonel Autumn a whole like redemption arc in Fallout Shelter. It was great.
Which some people say that he absolutely should anyway. So you're out
Yeah,
here doing Todd Howard's work.
he had a wife in my vault, and he loved her very much, and they
Aw.
had a kid, and it was cute.
How special.
But yeah, he had a redemption arc. He's a bit of a dick in Fallout 3. Don't really like him that much, but I was like, I don't care. He's in a different game now. He's in my world. And in my world, he's a good guy.
Specifically, I don't know if you've gotten like to the ending and stuff, but like his character has like, it's weird because he has like a bit of either like a redemption arc or like a turncoat kind of situation, but it doesn't really feel like it got completed all the way. So it's just kind of like he kind of a little bit became a good guy with your help, but then it doesn't really like expand on that a whole lot, which is weird.
Yeah. He was a very interesting character in Fallout 3, and he was the first legendary dweller that I got in Fallout Shelter, and I was just like, ooh, what can I do with him?
Now he's
Actually, it was either him or Dr. Lee that I got first. I can't remember. It was one of those two. Because for the vault that I streamed on, I just got so many Fallout 3 characters, and I was just like, this is very weird. It's all Fallout 3. And then when I played Fallout Shelter on my phone, that's when I started getting both Fallout 3 and New Vegas. I rarely got any Fallout 4.
Interesting.
But yeah, just I don't know why. Just like no Fallout 4 for you. Yeah. I wanted to get in a vault. I wanted to get both Dr. Lee and James because in all of Fallout 3 it was a whole thing of like, yeah, Dr. Lee had a crush on him and stuff, and I was just like, I'm gonna make this love story happen.
I'm gonna make
but it
them
never
kiss.
happened. Exactly. It never happened. Fallout Shelter was like no love story for you because I'm a big sucker for those romances of like unrequited love or a whole will they won't they. Those are my favorite kinds of romances. And like, okay, Dr. Lee can be a little bit of a bitchy character at times, but I liked her. I understood her. I got her. And I was like, yeah, I want her and James to be happy.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen. See, I play other Fallout games. I know Fallout 3 because Fallout 3 is heckin' cool.
And then you went
I like my Fallout 4 challenge runs instead.
Yeah, and then you went and blew her up in Fallout 4, either as a part of the Institute or part of the Brotherhood.
Listen, I always do the evacuation protocol when I blow up the Institute because the Railroad likes it when you do that because I'm one of 5 people that likes the Railroad. I just like all the characters that no one else does. That is my role as a Fallout creator.
You're right. That's the vibe you're out here setting.
Yep, I'm just like, oh, you don't like this person? Well, I like them.
Right.
I will give them the justice they deserve.
Speaking of things that not a lot of people like, Starfield. How come you haven't played that?
I played a little bit of it. But as a lot of people discovered very early on with Starfield, you gotta have the right specs and the right high-end equipment to actually make it run. I don't.
Really? What do you like?
That's the short end of it. I don't.
It's really interesting because like the specs for like for Starfield, you can actually run that on like a 1080 graphics card. I had a 2070 in my computer, and it was running like perfectly fine. And for context, my 2070 died like 2 weeks ago. So it was like by the time Starfield came out, it was already starting to, hobble along. But to your point, though, I think one of the one of the big requirements that not a lot of people were picking up, and I didn't even pick up at you know at first blush, is I think part of the lag that a lot of people were experiencing was because the game was more so optimized for, I believe, an SSD hard drive. And
Mm,
so there'd be a lot of people
mm.
playing it on like a regular hard drive, and it would have like, lagging issues because it was built to be intended to be run on just a faster hard drive in general.
Yeah.
Um,
But like the thing for me is that I I don't want to get into all like console wars and stuff
oh
because
no, yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
ridiculous.
put this out there, blanket statement. I don't care.
Oh,
But
controversial.
I
You heard it right here.
I
Letitia
know,
Lemon
shocking.
does not like the console wars. Post in the comments
But
what you think about that.
I grew up as a console gamer, so console is my blood.
Mhm.
Um, when I started streaming, it was all console focused. I had no intention of getting like a PC or anything. So like, it costs a lot of money. I have to build it. I don't know how to build it. I don't want to pay extra money to get someone else to build it for me. So all of my quote unquote PC gaming is done on a gaming laptop.
Mhm.
When I booted up Starfield, I was concerned that I would get like third-degree burns on my fingers because my laptop got that hot
Yeah, it was
trying
gonna
to play
melt.
it. No matter what I did with the settings, I was scared for the safety of my laptop. And like, this is a high-end gaming laptop as well. It just can't handle Starfield. Like,
Mm.
it can handle other Bethesda games because a lot of Bethesda games are very chunky games.
Yeah.
It can handle Skyrim. It can handle Fallout 4. It can handle Fallout 76. It just can't handle Starfield.
Interesting.
Which is a shame because obviously I love Bethesda, but I love sci-fi games. I love the sci-fi genre in like TV and films as well. Like, I am such a massive sci-fi nerd.
Mhm.
I love Doctor Who, I love Star Trek, I love Stargate, I love the X-Files, like so much sci-fi stuff.
I was
But
actually
like, it broke my heart
when you're talking
that
about
I
how like
couldn't
how
play it.
much when you're talking about like how much you love like sci-fi and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I should bring up Doctor Who. Like, nah, I'm not gonna bring up Doctor Who. That's too easy. And then you brought up Doctor Who. Like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
let's. um, yeah. It's so like, have you gotten a chance to like sort of like look into like what the story and like what the gameplay and all that is about and stuff like that?
I don't know much about it, to be honest. I know like the gist of each of the Starfield factions. I know like a couple of the characters.
Mhm.
But I don't know much about sort of the overall story of it. And like, yeah, when I tried to play it, I played like probably not even an hour. And then I just gave up for the
Yeah.
safety of my expensive laptop and my fingers.
One of
So I don't know too much.
one of the interesting things that, because like when the game was first being like talked about and promoted and like shown off and stuff like that, one of the big draws that I saw and was like kind of a little bit like, attracted to, like pulled to, was the sort of like aesthetic and like the place in, the relative time of that Starfield was set in, because
Mm.
it's not like set like, in some like far flung future like Star Wars, but it's also not like, like
But
we're
Star Wars isn't in the future. It's in the
yeah,
past. It literally starts with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
but
It's
you,
the
I mean,
opposite.
like, that kind of like high fantasy sci-fi
Yeah.
was like aliens and like I mean, I guess there are laser beams in like every sci-fi thing, even some non-sci-fi stuff like Fallout, but like it's a very different sort of feeling to it. They described it as
Yeah.
like NASA punk, where like, oh, we've only been like exploring space for like 100 years or 50 years or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that to me was very interesting because one, it was a lot of the like specifically like ship interiors had very like alien vibes, like John Carpenter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was super into that as a kid, but or not as a kid, but when I was younger. And it's interesting because there's a lot of people who were also like drawn not just to the aesthetic, but like that like NASA punk concept. And then there were a lot of people who weren't and found it more so like, dull, not as like, because, like stuff gets compared against Starfield like all the time, like Mass
Yeah.
Effect, Halo.
Like, I know a lot of people were comparing it, like, with No Man's Sky and saying, like, oh, there's nothing in Starfield, just like No Man's Sky had nothing at release.
Right,
And then I
yeah.
was one of the foolish people that did pay full price for No Man's Sky on release, and I can safely say it was a rip-off, and I wish I got my 50 quid back. But I did play it enough to get the platinum trophy because I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get my platinum, and I'm never gonna play this game again. And then it
Right.
went and got good, and I still can't be bothered to go and play it again because I'm like, no. After
Fair.
all the pain it caused me on release, I don't ever want to go back to it. I don't care if it's basically a different game now. It caused me too much suffering.
Yeah, it's too much trauma.
It was.
But like
Don't get me wrong, it was pretty at times though,
it
but
was.
too much trauma.
Yeah. With Starfield though, where what's your opinion on that sort of like like time capsule moment where it's doing
Um,
that, like, like mostly like still unexplored, like undeveloped universe, and still, and that not high tech sci-fi stuff, but like that kind of like we're still like figuring, it's a lot, more like not raw, but like unrefined in a sense. It's got that like down to earth charm to it.
for me, because I have a vast interest in the sci-fi genre in general, and like I like space just as a person. If I didn't get into acting and entertainment, I had a strong interest in astronomy, because space is neat.
Mhm.
There's a lot of stuff out there. It was either astronomy or geology because rocks are pretty cool too. But that's tangent.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, I was really interested in space because there's so much out there. There's so much of an unknown. The universe is so vast, and no one knows how big it is or what's out there. And while that can be eerie and ominous and even scary at points, there's also a serene beauty to it as well. Like, okay, there's always that threat of like aliens invading the planet and whatever. But then you look at photos from like the Hubble telescope and you see all these beautiful stars and galaxies, or like you get to see one of the planets in our own solar system just up close and in crazy high definition that, like even 20, 30 years ago, you wouldn't even think would be possible. But like you can just see it crystal clear. And it makes me want to explore. Like, I wish that there was a way that we could do that easier. And I think that's why I like the sci-fi genre as a whole so much. Because, creators of sci-fi shows or games or just all of these universes in the sci-fi genre, they're not bound by the limits of reality. The writers can do whatever they want. They can make whatever universe they want. They can create whatever planets and alien races and spaceships and weapons that they want. Creativity is limitless in the sci-fi genre. And that's what I love about it so much. And everyone can interpret how we get to that point in a vast number of ways. Like how we get to the sci-fi point in Star Trek, where we go to space, is so different to how we get to that point in like Babylon 5 or the Aliens or Mass Effect or whatever. Like, it's so different in every universe. But the point still remains the same, of just exploring other worlds, other galaxies, other alien cultures and alien races, just seeing what's actually out there. And that is my favorite thing about the genre. That is what draws me in so much, because I love just seeing how everyone interprets it differently. And with Starfield, I was so excited to finally see Bethesda's take on that, because we've had glimpses of it before. We had Prey. Prey was amazing. A little bit spooky, and I don't really like spooky games, but it had such an amazing setup to it. And then, we got glimpses of it in Doom, where you go to Mars, and, well, hell, but you go to Mars. And in Wolfenstein, this may be a little bit of a spoiler for people that haven't played this 7-year-old game at this point, but you go to Venus in Wolfenstein, and they chose Venus because they tried to make it so like Doom and Wolfenstein are in the same universe, and it's like, well, demons from hell are on Mars, so BJ can't go to Mars, so we'll send him to Venus instead, because why not?
It's like that.
There's a whole like theories and stuff on it, because I streamed a lot of Wolfenstein and Doom back in the day as well, so I talked about that a lot there, about the Bethesda universe, I guess.
Okay.
But Starfield is the first game that we got to actually see all of it as its own space exploration genre, because we got parts of it in other games, like, Doom and Wolfenstein are both just like crazy shooting, ripping and tearing, blood and guts kind of games, just plowing through all these levels with all these big heavy guns. And then Prey was more sort of suspenseful, like pseudo horror, whereas Starfield is just like, here is the universe, go and play in it. It's the most open world because it's an open universe. And that's what I love about sci-fi games that treat their world, their universe, as just a plaything that you can go and explore and do whatever you want in. Like, I love games like that. Like, games like The Outer Worlds or Star Trek Online, just where you can just go. You can do whatever, you just go out there. Like, you see a planet that's really freaking far away, you want to go there, go for it. There's no limits there, and it's just something that I just am so addicted to. I'm such a sci-fi nerd because there is just infinite possibilities, and I love it. I got very passionate there. I'm sorry.
I mean, like I
went on a whole ramble there.
I mean, it was kind of to the whole point of what I was initially getting there. How do I word it? Because like one of the big things that was like levied against Starfield specifically was that there's a sort of like a lack of stuff to do. There's not a whole lot of like, because most of the planets are more so like barren rocks and stuff like that. Not all of them, but like a large swath of them are just so that, like, relatively empty planets with, like, there's a mining facility, or there's like a research outpost, and this, that, and the other thing. I talked with Tom of Robots Radio Network on the last episode, and we talked about like, maybe Bethesda is like trying to build their games to be more so like, simulated environments, like, Fallout's a simulation of post-apocalyptic environments. Starfield's a simulation of like early into or a new into space simulation.
Well, my take on that, sorry to interrupt there, but my take on that is that Bethesda is sort of going for a slightly more realistic approach with Starfield, in the fact that because our universe is so big, like, sure, there's going to be other life out there, but it doesn't mean every single planet that exists is going to have civilization on it. Some of them are just going to be barren wastelands that have no life on them. And while, from a gamer perspective, it means there's a lot of empty space where people, quote-unquote, do nothing, but you can take in the atmosphere of that isolated loneliness. You can make up your own story about what happened on that planet, why no one is there. And I think having that freedom of creativity sort of only stretches as far as the player is willing to let it stretch. It's the same with Fallout 76. A lot of people said, there's nothing in Fallout 76, but then, the game is 5.5 years old at this point, probably closer to 6 now. I can't do maths. And people are still playing the game every day because they're making up their own stories, their own adventures. They're using the camp system to literally build their own sets and create their own stories. And I think, in a way, Starfield is kind of doing that, but with a much bigger canvas than just, post-apocalyptic West Virginia. It's giving you a literal universe to, loosely follow the story that they've set up for you, but then also experiencing just how big that universe is, how empty it can be at times, because that's what our own universe can be like. But then you can also make your own adventure out of it. And, while I do believe there is other life out there in our universe, I don't think every single planet is going to be occupied, even in like a couple of 100 years' time. I don't think there's going to be these sprawling civilizations on all of our planets, that there's going to be this whole network of intergalactic explorers. Like, I don't think that's what it's going to be like. And I feel like that's the reality that Starfield is kind of capturing, in a way that, sure, there's more out there in the universe, but there's not going to be stuff to do everywhere. There's not always going to be someone to talk to, or some alien to shoot, or some facility to loot from. Like, it has a more grounded approach to things, but still using that Bethesda creativity to add in a storyline and interesting characters, but also being like, this is a whole universe. It's not all isolated to one planet. Like, there's a lot of other things going on, and then sometimes there's going to be those empty and quiet, desolate places as well.
I guess more so, like, what do you think of the concept, like, the theory that Bethesda sort of made Starfield as empty as it is for, again, twofold. One, to be that, simulation of what the realism of that, like, period in human history is, and to basically just create all this wide open space for modders to just, like, come in and just make literally anything they want, literally anywhere they want. Because the way the planetary system works is you can drop down, like, anywhere on the planet, and it'll, like, procedurally generate the space for you to run around in. And it's like, there's that outpost, there's that cave, there's that, and there's that. But you can do that anywhere on the, like, surface map of the planet, which means there's, like, thousands upon hundreds of thousands, if not, maybe millions of different spots on one individual planet or one individual moon that a player can drop down on, which means on just, like, one singular planet, there's almost an infinite number of individual spaces where a modder can come in and create in this sort of isolated sandbox. And when you multiply that for all of the, like, 1,000 planets there are, that's a lot of room to, like, mod just, like, new stories and stuff on. So when, as speaking as a Bethesda ambassador for the UK, so, like, what do you think of, like, that concept? Do you think, like, that's what Bethesda was partially going here for, or do you think that's kind of like a happy accident? And in either situation, like, what is your, like, larger idea and larger, like, complex feelings about, like, what that could be and how that could be perceived and how that could be rolled out?
I think Starfield is definitely a modder's playground. But I think, a lot of Bethesda's open world games are modder playgrounds. They're very mod friendly. They support the creativity of the modding community. They have, like, the Creation Club. They've actively hired people who've made fan mods and they're now working at the company. Like several of the Fallout London team are now working at Bethesda. Like they fully support the creativity of the community. And I think with the vastness of Starfield, that it has that room for modders to do what they want with it, because there's just so much space. They've essentially given modders, planets upon planets of real estate to do whatever they want with. And part of me thinks that that's intentional in a way, because of games like Skyrim and Fallout 4 that have literally thousands of mods for them anyway. And that's just a small space on one planet. So I think there's kind of that thinking of, why just give modders one planet to create their stories in? Why not give them a whole universe? Like, obviously I can't speak on behalf of Bethesda. This is just my interpretation of things. But that's how I perceive it as. Like, they've given you a loose story and some loose bits of lore to play about with, and then the rest is up to the player, really. I think that's just one of the main draws of Bethesda games in general, that there's enough content there, but then there's so much room for players to do whatever they want with it as well.
What are your thoughts on the Fallout? I call it Fallout Prime just because it sounds cooler than saying the Fallout Amazon Prime series. What are your thoughts and expectations, especially as somebody who has done acting, voice acting, has more so a deeper, I don't want to say you understand filmography and story crafting and stuff. Like, you're not
and I keep saying that, it makes me sound smart.
Right.
I mean, I did a degree in this stuff, so I've studied film production for 10 years, well as going into the industry as a performer as well. So I know a few things.
Right. Yeah. So what are your expectations? What are you expecting from Fallout Prime?
Well, my first initial thought on it was, why didn't they cast me?
Yeah.
But that's that's my unprofessional opinion.
Yeah.
But talking as both an actor, as someone that has studied film and has worked on various film and TV productions before, as an avid Fallout fan, I'm very excited for how the show is going to expand the Fallout lore and the Fallout universe. From what I've seen of all of the trailers and the promo images and stuff, it looks and feels like Fallout. It doesn't feel like something completely different that's just oh, we'll just grab this popular IP and then just slap it on there just for, budgeting and promo and making it look a lot cooler than it is. It genuinely has that Fallout aesthetic, that Fallout vibe to it. And they don't need a big name attached to their show to be hey, look at it, it's really cool. It is just Fallout converted into a TV show. That's what I've interpreted from everything I've seen so far. But I'm also one of those people that I will never judge something until I actually see it or until I actually play it. This is slightly a tangent, but still relevant. My absolute favorite film of all time is the original Ghostbusters.
Hell
Love
yeah.
it so much. Admittedly, some of the writing in that film has not aged well, but I just love the concept and the characters and just the universe that it's created in general. So when the 2016 Ghostbusters all-female thing happened, I was someone that went into it with an open mind. Okay, a lot of the stuff I'd seen beforehand, I was this doesn't look too great, but I wasn't, gonna hate on it and say it's garbage until I'd seen the film. It's just a shame that I did think all of that once I saw the film. But I wanted to give it a chance. It's you can't judge something without actually knowing the full detail of it. Um, and yeah, in that particular case, I wasn't, one of the like hardcore Ghostbusters fans that was like, no, if it doesn't have the original cast, it's gonna be crap and I'm gonna hate it and blah blah. Oh, it's all women and they're just getting all woke and Me Too and blah blah blah. As a woman,
Yeah. They
and I'm
just
like,
also
no,
happen
I
to be
don't care
doing
about
that
that.
as well.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care that it's an all-female cast. I
No,
don't
yeah.
care that it's new characters. It's just it had a very different tone that didn't feel Ghostbusters. It was too slapstick comedy. The writing in general had no interesting story beats to it. None of the characters had any chemistry.
Mhm.
The villain posed no threat. It just didn't feel like Ghostbusters. It's like they took the logo and just like stuck it on all the marketing material. It did not feel part of Ghostbusters at all.
It's like
But
what
with
Konami did with Metal Gear Solid after they gave Kojima the boot and then put out another Metal Gear Solid game, which everybody
yeah,
instantly hated because it was very clear like, oh, you're just trying to like, it felt more like a mobile game than an actual like full Metal Gear Solid experience.
yeah, and it's like with the Fallout show, what I've seen so far does look very good. Like the marketing is amazing. The the set pieces, the costumes, the characters, they all feel very Fallout. And I know people were all a bit like funny about the Cyclops character. I can't remember his name. I don't know if his name was revealed actually.
I
Um,
don't remember. I
but
feel like it was, but I also can't remember.
yeah, I can't remember. But it's like, okay, we haven't seen that particular kind of mutation before, but
Yeah.
like think about some of the other things we have seen in Fallout. Like it's highly possible
Hmm.
that that could happen. Like even just think about the mutations you get in Fallout 76. Like okay, they're not going to make your character look physically different, but think
That
about
that
what those mutations
that's
actually are.
That's actually it's funny that you bring that up because very recently they I think it was on the Twitter account for the Fallout Wikipedia. There actually was like it was left on the cutting room floor, but originally in Fallout 76 they were tinkering with the idea that mutations were actually going to change you physically.
Yeah, like it would be a really cool idea, but it would be very complicated to implement. But
Oh
it's
yeah.
like think about what those mutations are and the names of them and how they work. Like it is totally possible for there to be a Cyclops in the Fallout universe.
Hmm.
And just think about some of the other characters we've seen, like especially in the old Fallout games. Like some of the designs in those were pretty grotesque actually, but then it's also like at the end of the day, they were once human.
Yeah.
Think about the flipping centaurs in Fallout 3, the nightmare fuel that they were. Like, okay, it's all FEV related,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they were once human,
The forced
you know?
evolutionary virus, that's basically just rapid mutation, so it's basically the same thing anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's more sort of human implemented, where it's like, let's see what happens with this.
Yeah.
But they were still human, and then they mutated. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, someone has one eye instead of two. Ooh, it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I love what they're doing with the show so far. It looks really good, and I just hope that the story holds up to the aesthetic because the aesthetic is just gorgeous.
Mhm.
Like seeing, like I'm not a big Brotherhood person. I like the Brotherhood in Fallout 3. Don't really like them in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
But seeing the Brotherhood in the show, the first time I saw them, it gave me goosebumps. And that's the kind of stuff that I love. It's like that first time where you're playing Fallout 4, and then after you kill Kellogg, you go outside Fort Hagen, you see daylight for the first, or nighttime, depending on when you finish the quest.
Yeah.
But you look up at the sky, and then you just see the Pridwin soaring majestically overhead, and then you hear Elder Maxon's announcement of "We are the Brotherhood of Steel," and having that music in the background, like it just gives you chills. And that's the same kind of excitement that I had seeing the Brotherhood for the first time for the Fallout show. And I just really, really hope that the story holds up to all of that hype. I really do.
Since
So I'm very optimistic.
since a Nolan is working on the project, I would almost bet money that that it's going to be that it's going to be good, because the Nolan brothers, they make fantastic films.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I think there was a thing recently where they were talking to um I I forget his name. He's not Chris Nolan, he's his brother, and I forget his brother's name all the time. You just hear Nolan and it's like, oh, okay, I get it, whatever. Or not
Yeah,
not like whatever, but like, yeah, I know you're a genius. I got it. You're a Nolan.
Yeah, you either think of them or you think of Nolan North, who's in every video game ever. Like,
yes.
You don't think of anyone else when you hear Nolan. You either think Nolan Brothers or Nolan North.
But there was an interview they did. I can't remember who with, but there was an interview where he was talking about like making the game, and he's all like, or making the movie, TV show, and he said effectively, it was very similar to making like the Dark Knight trilogy, because there's just so much to pull from. Like there's so much lore and story and history and information just like out there. They're working on such a well-developed foundation that, well, he said specifically that they were able to build it up so that it practically feels like this is Fallout 5. But that gave me a lot of, I mean, I already had fucking sky high expectations anyway, because one, it's Fallout, two, it's being developed by Amazon, which admittedly not everything that comes out of Amazon Studio is like the best, but like, they got The Boys, Invincible, insert third thing that I can't remember right now, but maybe I'll fix it in post, but probably not because I'll forget. And so,
that's my favorite one.
Oh yeah, right. It's literally the best show. If you haven't watched it, do that.
Yeah, and we're specifically not saying the name again, not because either of us forgot it, but it's because you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, you know. Yep. They know. The audience knows. But so like it's got the Amazon studio behind it, it's got Nolan backing it, it's based on a very popular IP. So it's like it has all of the right recipes to not only be good, but to be incredibly faithful to the source material and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the show is in safe hands. I really do. And I'm very excited to eventually see it next month. It's weird to think about this next month.
No, right? It's so close. Plus, it's also going to be the same month that London comes out. So, like, it's like April's going to be a banger month.
Yeah, it was very intentional that we moved Fallout London back to April, because obviously, we want to make sure everything's polished, because you only get one chance to make a good first impression. And the mod's initial release, Q4 of 2023, the team didn't feel like that it was ready for then. So obviously, because I don't work on the production of the mod, as I said earlier, I just do voices for it. I don't make things in it.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, everything in the mod was pretty much done. It was just making a few tweaks to things, tidying things up, getting a bit more polish in there. And then it just made sense to release it around the same time as the TV show, because then just April is just Fallout month, know?
It's like what the Sim Settlements 2 team did with dropping their game like a week or two before Starfield was going to drop. Yeah.
Also, fun fact, I was almost going to be in the first Sim Settlements. Just there were a lot of behind the scenes scheduling conflicts at the time, but I could have been in that.
Like chapter 1?
Yeah.
Nice.
I could have been in it. And also, I'm just dropping all these fun facts about other things that I've done.
Right.
But the mention of Christopher Nolan and the Dark Knight trilogy, I actually used to work at a Batman immersive experience in London that is official. So technically, in a very loose sense, I am officially part of the DC universe.
Yeah, you're Batman canon.
I am. It's very loose, but it's official, so I'm counting it. Let me have this one.
In a much more, I actually learned this recently, in a much more solid way, because like you know Gravity Falls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. there was a Simpsons introductory couch gag where Bill Cipher was actually in in the bit, and the creator for Gravity Falls, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, but he was actually asked, like, because Bill Cipher is, a universe hopping creature, and because he was in The Simpsons, does that mean that Bill Cipher is technically canon in the Simpsons universe? And he said yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting point, though. Like, anyone that can dimension hop, it's like technically they're canon in every universe, if you think about it.
Exactly. But since
the
you're not an
multiverse is infinite.
right. So you're obviously not an interdimensional creature, but if Bill Cipher can be canon in, I know, right? If Bill Cipher can be canon in The Simpsons, you can be canon in Batman. That's exactly. That's not a stretch anymore. That's just the world we live in.
I am counting it. It's official. I'm part of the DC universe.
Yeah, so expect to see I almost said Lolita again. Expect to see Letitia Lemon.
That's my character's name.
Right. Expect to see Letitia Lemon in the Batman Part 2.
Yep.
Right there.
I will be there.
Right next to the Joker and Clayface. I heard that Clayface is probably going to be in it, which is going to be super interesting. Yeah. I'm interested to see what they do with that. But I'm more so interested and more so on topic because you're a brand ambassador. Maybe you can tell me this. When is Fallout Shelter Online coming to United States? I'm kidding, mostly.
I mean, I want an answer too.
Right. It seems,
I really do.
It seems super fun. But more on a more serious note, though, like what is it being a brand ambassador like and like how did all that come to be?
So for Bethesda, because I've done like brand ambassador work for loads of places before, just not as long term as I have been with Bethesda. Because I've been an ambassador for them for like 5 years actually, and it's funny because it's only in UK. It's only Bethesda UK that has an ambassador team. Like, as far as I'm aware, nowhere else has an actual team. There's like known creators in other Bethesda parts of the world, but as far as I'm aware, the UK is the only place that actually has an ambassador team, like where we are identified as ambassadors. And basically,
wasn't Lone Vault Wanderer one for the for Australia? Or was it something else?
He was a community manager.
That was it. That's what I'm thinking.
But it's basically like the community managers are the people that keep us in line, essentially.
Right.
I was gonna say they're our bosses, but we're not technically employed by Bethesda. Yeah. Like, I don't work there. I don't go to their offices every day and do stuff there, which people
legally,
make
anyway.
That assumption. Yeah, like I've been tagged in so many posts on Twitter, like about, technical issues about some of the games and stuff, and I'm like, I don't actually work at Bethesda. Yeah. I work with them, but not at them.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. But I think it's because I'm like quite well known in the community in general, so people just see, Bethesda ambassador, you must work there. I'm like, nope.
Right. You must know Todd Howard personally.
Oh yeah, he's my busy mate. He's gonna come around tomorrow and have a cuppa.
We got
there you go. There's your English slang.
Right. I was about to say we're gonna watch the footy.
Yep.
Watch the football.
But yeah, it's like I built up my following and my network by being me, not by working at a company. But anyway, tangent. Again, I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of people think I work there and I don't. I don't work there. I wish I could, but I don't.
Yeah.
Before anyone sends me any more posts about stuff in the games that are broken, I don't know how to fix it. Speak to someone else. But anyway. Basically what we do as ambassadors is like we go to events that Bethesda are doing. So at like Comic Cons, when they hosted QuakeCon, we were basically like the crew at QuakeCon. We go to like other Comic Cons, other gaming conventions. The Starfield launch event that was in London, we got to work at that as well. So we just do events with them basically, and then they give us free stuff in return, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And then I got to be on one of their live streams in front of 3,000 people, and I was playing Doom, and that was cool. I'd never played old school Doom on a modern console because this was when they were bringing it to at the time the current gen. So
Really?
I was like, I don't know what any of the controls are. So when we started the stream, I was just faffing about in the first level, just pressing all the buttons to see what they did. And it was very funny because I'm going to point this out because this was not okay. Someone in the chat, because the internet doesn't believe, one, that women exist, that two, women can like games, and that three, women can be good at games.
And four, that women can be British and like video games.
That as well. But yeah, people were like, oh, look at her, she doesn't know how to play a video game, it's blatantly someone else playing a game while she just holds a controller and, is there to look pretty. And I'm like, again, the colourful language, and I was like, bitch, I beat 4 levels in 20 minutes. That was all me. And I had not played OG Doom for several years at that point anyway, but I still beat 4 levels in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I didn't even play on easy mode because I don't play games on easy mode. It's fine if you do, it's okay. I'm not judging anyone that plays games on easy mode. Everyone plays games however they want to. Don't feel insecure about playing games on easy mode. Just want to get that out there. But I personally don't play games on easy mode.
Because you're built different and skill issue.
Exactly.
Get good.
I just like the solid, like, medium ground. You know, I don't want it to be too easy where I blitz through a game super quickly, but then I don't want it to be frustratingly difficult where I like rage quit and snap controllers in half. You know, right. I like the nice middle ground. And then if it's easy, then I will do the harder difficulties. Case in point, all of my Fallout 4 runs are on survival mode, because I am a masochist. But yeah, I did 4 levels in 20 minutes on that stream, and it was really cool because like being on that stream with Bethesda just felt so surreal to me at the time, because this was when I'd only been streaming for about a year at that point, and one of the British community managers at the time, I believe I don't know his exact job title now, but he works with the broader European team. His name's Ed Lewis. Amazing guy, by the way. Huge shout out to him. Absolutely lovely. And all of the community managers. But he was like, you said you do live streaming, right? So we're going to do a live stream tomorrow morning showcasing old Doom on current gen while also doing a bit of a tease for Doom Eternal. Do you want in? And I was like, yeah. To actually do something like on Bethesda's official channels talking about the new game that everyone is so excited about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this was when they first did the reveal of some of the new enemies as well in Doom Eternal and like how they all looked. I'm trying to remember what was released at that time. I think it was the I've forgotten the name of it. I think it was like the Slayer Hunters, like the first like pseudo boss of Doom Eternal, like before the Marauder. I think this is when they first revealed them, and it was just really cool to talk about that. Like I was going through some really rough personal stuff before that, so I'm not going to go into it too personal. But I was going through some really difficult stuff before that, and it was just such a tonal shift, like going to that event. Then being on a live stream in front of 3,000 people talking about it. And I was like, what is my life right now?
Right.
And it was just really cool getting to do events like that with Bethesda. And obviously, you know, I'm assuming with more games that they'll be bringing out and stuff, that there'll be more events like that again. Because a lot of those were pre-COVID stuff. And yeah, a lot of the events as well were focusing around Doom Eternal, because pre-COVID, Doom Eternal was like the big game right before then. Because Doom Eternal released literally the week after the UK went into lockdown. We were going to have a launch party literally on the day of lockdown, which was tragic.
Awful timing.
Yeah, but yeah, like a lot of those events at the time, but obviously like Bethesda in general, but a lot were widely Doom focused. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, we still do, like, Bethesda meetups at some Comic Cons in London anyway, like, sort of really big Comic Cons that have, like, over 100,000 people at them. But we still do Bethesda meetups there, and it's really, really cool just seeing everyone again, even though we don't do big events as much anymore, but it's just nice, you know, catching up with everyone.
It's a community moment.
It is. Yeah. And it's nice that they want to stay connected with the community as well, because I don't know too many other especially like big video game companies that do stuff like that. But, it gives us ambassadors something to do as well.
Yeah.
Like, we don't just have the title as like a former thing. Like, hey, remember 5 years ago when we did one QuakeCon in London? I was there for that. It's like, no, we do other things as well.
Right, and everybody's like, "Who are you again?" And you're like, "Oh no, my self-esteem."
Yeah. Yeah, basically, yeah. We're all very fragile when people forget that QuakeCon Europe was a thing that happened once.
Yeah.
It was a really fun event, though.
Right. So you kind of talked a little bit about it, more directly. You are not the first woman that I never know how to
I
like
am the
say
first
it.
woman,
Right?
yes.
You are the first woman.
Ever.
Because I never like saying like you're the first like female guest that I brought on, which for the record you're not. I brought on Eleonora and she was awesome to talk to, but like
I love Ellie.
I always feel gross about saying like you're the first like female this or the first woman that, because both just that sound weird on the, rolling off my tongue like that. But like
Yeah.
you more so specifically, obviously Eleonora's got a big following, a big presence and stuff like that, and she like streams and stuff. But she's more on like the modding side,
Yeah.
where you are more so like directly like streaming. You are in the spotlight, and that's like what you're known for. Whereas Eleonora does in fact stream and is in the spotlight. But that's like in between, working on her own stuff and stealth making stuff for Bethesda,
Yeah.
like she did in Starfield. But more, and again, because you like touched on it, what is just like streaming as, a woman like in general? Because obviously you said with your Doom experience, you had a bunch of people being just gross in general, like, oh, she's an e-gamer, look, she's like licking the controller and whatever, and like because it's
This
obviously a very
conversation can go
right.
many ways.
Oh yeah. But like it's just a very different, obviously it's a very different experience than most of the streaming platform, and more so because like I think, as you said before, gaming is a very like male dominated sort of ecosystem, despite
It
the
is,
fact
yeah.
that I think there was like statistics that said like more women actually play video games than men, which is an interesting statistic. But like,
Yep, I feel like it's more of a case of less women stream because of the way people react to them.
yeah, just like gross and toxic people.
Yeah.
But more so to the point, like to like get the question out there. What is your experience as a female streamer been like?
So touching on what I just said, as a kid, I was actually more of a secret gamer. Like, none of my friends at school knew that I played video games that much. And it's funny because I actually had a little. This is a short tangent, I promise. Some of my friends from school that I haven't seen in literally a decade, we met up a couple weeks ago, and they were just like, yeah, we didn't know you were such a gamer and that you're in the industry and stuff, and oh, we would have had so much more to talk about at school. Because like, they were my friends, but like we didn't hang out all the time and stuff, but like, we'd hang out occasionally, but it just wasn't too much to talk about. And like, oh yeah, if we knew you were a gamer, there'd be so much more that we could have talked about. We could have like had video game nights and stuff. But yeah, I was more of a secret gamer when I was younger. But for my experiences as a streamer, because we are getting back on topic. See, it was a short tangent. Good job, me.
Short tangent number 17. Got it.
But I wanted to just get that little bit of life history out there.
Yeah.
But my experiences as a streamer, like especially as a Fallout streamer, a lot of the really big Fallout streamer, or just Bethesda streamers in general, a lot of the big challenge runners are all men. I can name drop so many amazing creators, like, there's Juve and Jabbo and Brexia and Nurbit and Crisis and many a true nerd. Like, there's so many of them.
Al Chestbreach, Fudge Muppet.
Yeah, they're all men.
Yeah.
There are very few female challenge run streamers that are in that upper echelon of known female challenge run streamers.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of makes me stand out a little bit more, that it's like, I know my stuff in the game. I know all these facts and tidbits that no one else knows about, that I'm teaching people about how the game works. And I think that's something that does make me stand out a lot. But that, and just being a female streamer and gamer alone, like, I am not immune to the less pleasant side of things. Luckily, I've not had as bad experiences as other females on the platform have. I hate how many times I'm saying the word female. Like, I'm just a gamer.
That's what I was
like,
talking about. It never feels right.
Matter. It doesn't matter what I identify as. It doesn't matter, what parts I have. I'm just someone that plays video games.
Yeah.
That should just be enough.
Gamer
like,
is
I don't
your
care
gender.
who plays video games. And as I said earlier, I don't care about console wars. I'm just like, you play games, I like you.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Unless you do something that's problematic, then as far as I'm concerned, if you're a gamer, you're all right in my books.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as a female creator, as a female streamer, I have had some negative experiences in my time. I've had people being very upfront about their the interest in my existence upfront. There have been many people who I've had to ban for that. But then the really funny story that I love telling this, because it is the most hilarious yet very on-brand for Letitia thing that I can ever tell anyone. And whenever someone new hears this story, they just love it so much. So, I was doing a Fallout 4 challenge run. Shocking, I know. Revolutionary moment right there.
Breaking, innovative, groundbreaking, the moment kind of situation.
Right. So I was in the glowing sea. I had a pipe sniper rifle at that point. And the thing about me is that I am a very good stealth sniper. Doesn't matter what kind of sniper I have, I just have mad snipe skills.
Nice.
Again, mild tangent. My longest headshot streak in a video game with a sniper rifle is like 72 headshots.
Holy shit.
In a row.
Damn.
No miss. Exactly. I have deadly aim.
See, I
had a pipe sniper in the...
We talked a little bit before the stream where it's like you don't want to do editing stuff like that. But if you did a little bit of editing and started throwing that onto a compilation YouTube channel, you'd go fucking crazy. Because I remember back in the day, headshot streaks like that were big.
I was so proud of that. It was a 2-stream thing. It spanned 2 streams.
Damn.
So I literally wrote down on a post-it note the number that I was at the end of the first stream so I wouldn't forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a pipe sniper in the glowing sea, so I didn't care. I was fine. I was like, I'm good. I got this. Some rando person comes into my chat and is like, why are you using a pipe sniper? I'm surprised you made it this far with a pipe sniper. You're in the glowing sea with a pipe sniper. Do you know what you're doing? They were just being really patronizing, making it assume I had no idea how to play the game, that I was doing all of these wrong decisions. And I was like, my guy, I'm doing a challenge run. RNG has not been kind to me. Also, I'm a boss-ass bitch with a sniper rifle. I can handle myself here. And then he was still like, nah, shit, you don't know what you're doing. No, you're terrible at this game. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay.
Backseat
you do you, bro. Whatever. So, just whatever. But he did that a few times. But only in my channel. Because I'd seen him in other people's chats before. And every single channel that he was in, aside from mine, he was nice to them because they were all men. And I was like, okay, he just has a problem with a woman playing Fallout 4 who's actually good at the game. I still didn't ban him at that point because I don't really ban people that much. I don't really care. I only ban them if they actually become problematic to chat itself. he would only send a couple of messages occasionally every like few weeks.
Right.
It's like, it's just 1 or 2 messages. It wasn't like consistent. It wasn't like a whole 4-hour stream of him like slagging me off.
Yeah, he's not showing up just to fucking, rake you over the coals and put you on blast.
Yeah. So like, no one cared really. No one in my chat cared. I didn't care. But my next challenge run after that, I was like, okay, so we all know this guy. He's been in my chat a few times. I think he actually had 2 accounts at the time. Both very similar usernames, but like a couple of numbers different because they were a name and number person.
Of course they were.
Yeah, so they had 2 accounts, I think.
Yeah.
Or I just don't remember their account properly.
Right.
But like, no one really cared about them that much. But I needed a new idea for a new run. And I had a lot of ideas written down from my community anyway. But then I had this brilliant idea of what if I do the whole game on survival mode, so the hardest difficulty in the game with a whole load of new mechanics. What if I take away every single legendary, so I don't get any other buffs from legendary armor or weapons? And what if I play the whole game with just pipe weapons?
Hell yeah.
So Let's I did that. The entire game, I had the pipe sniper that's a guaranteed spawn in Concord, and then I put a guaranteed suppressor spawn on it that you get from Trudy at Drumlin Diner, 100% guaranteed. Just buy it from her immediately. Slap it on the rifle, because the pistol and the rifle are the same type of gun. Instant suppress sniper straight out the vault. Right. You're welcome. That's one of my fun little facts that I tell everyone that wants an early sniper rifle. But yeah, I did that. I knew I was set for the entire game. As soon as I get a suppressed sniper, I've won. But not only did I do that, I did that entire challenge completely deathless.
Ooh.
So that entire run was my giant fuck you to that guy.
Yeah.
That was my mic drop moment at the end. I pulled up my pipe sniper as I blew up the Institute, and I was like, this bastard got me through the whole game, and I did not die at all. My death counter was at 0.
Well, if you're
and I was like, dare you question me now?
If you're that foolish individual that dared to question Letitia's pipe sniper skills, guess what? You just got owned.
Exactly. I've not seen him in my chat for years, but that entire run was spawned out of pure pettiness to prove that one specific person wrong, and that I can play Fallout 4. It doesn't matter that I'm a woman. I have so many hours of experience in that game. I like the game. I've learnt the game. I have fun playing it, and I'm freaking good at it. Like, as I said, it doesn't matter what gender you are. If you like games, you like games. No one should be put into a corner or segregated because of how they identify. That got very political, but that's the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't matter. You do you.
It also helps when I mean, it's more so like it shouldn't have it's so to bleh, spit it out, Toshi. It's a good skill to also be able to know how to like clap back. It's not one that, people should have, because streamers, people in general, not even just streamers, but like they shouldn't have to, be subject to that kind of, gross behavior.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think it's a case of, like, with content creation, there's always going to be people that are going to have, well, the internet in general, there's always going to be people that have something to say against you, and you've got to be prepared on how to handle that. Yeah. And I think being an actor as well, like, I've developed a thick skin from all of the countless rejections from auditions that I've had. But also me being British, me being sarcastic and witty, I'm able to fight back in a snarky manner that can actually be more entertaining.
Right.
And yeah, it takes a lot for me to just straight up ban someone. Like, I'll give people a chance. And then also I will find a way to stand my ground. I don't take bullying lightly. I don't like feeling small in front of other people. I will fight back. I will throw hands.
Yeah.
I don't like throwing hands, but I will if I have to.
The verbal hands.
Yes.
Verbal hands. We're not
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely verbal. I'm not
Verbal,
promoting
not
violence.
yeah. Anyway, now that we're off the record,
The,
like beat
the,
the shit out of him.
for the record, though, I've not actually thrown physical hands.
No, yes, it's not an
Just for the
abdication of violence.
absolute record, like I'm not just saying that to save my skin. I've never done that before in my life. It's actually quite terrifying.
Yeah,
But I will verbally stand my ground. Um, I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to physically stand my ground, but
yeah,
I have verbally stood my ground many, many times before. It's just with that particular individual, they gave me such a platform to extend my creativity, yet also fight back against them. It was just like a perfect storm of sexism and backseating and needless judgment of another individual on the internet who they have no idea about anything in their life, to then make content out of that, make good content out of that, make unique content out of that, and make probably one of their best gaming moments ever out of that. So
yeah,
thank you, random dude. You gave me my best run to date.
yeah. You
So
gotta
it's all about, thinking how to respond to something and how you could potentially turn it around to make it something better.
you gotta get into like watching those like shorts or those like compilations that are like when somebody's like being like gross and disrespectful to a female streamer, and then they just like destroy them. Like there's this one TikTok video I saw where like I don't know who any of the individuals involved were, but it's like this girl and she's like playing COD or something like that, and some dude's all like he's like, I'm glad the dishwasher could tell me how to play Call of Duty, or something fucking fucked up like that, and she clapped back by saying, I'm glad the lawnmower doesn't know how to play. And it's like, oh, damn. But like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those skills that you shouldn't have to, need to pick
Yeah,
up. But like,
yeah,
if
absolutely.
you have the skill set to be able to do that, then you make clippable moments and you just come out looking fucking badass.
Yeah, it's like people shouldn't have to be on the defensive all the time. Like, not just for streaming, but just in general. Like,
Yeah.
basically, people should be nicer to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with just being a presence online anyway, you have to be able to respond to things in a way that doesn't just give them more fuel to add to the fire. Like, if you react in a way that basically just encourages them to double down, then you're not making anything any better. You got to be able to one up them, but also maintain your dignity. Because then if you just say something back that has the same degrading and just pointless aggression to it, then you're not any better than that person. It's all about responding in a way that stands your ground, but also maintains who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, some of the clapbacks are actually pretty damn hilarious, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, don't be a sexist prick.
Yeah.
Like, it's 2024. Like, who
Yeah.
cares if women are playing games, or like, if men are getting their nails done? Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
The
There's
only
8 billion people on this planet. Everyone's fucking different.
the
Deal
only
with it.
the only people we should hate unequivocally and for no reason at all are the French. Like, they've been getting away with it for too long.
Plot twist.
No,
I am
right.
French.
Oh,
I'm French.
jeez. Sacre bleu. J'accuse. That's what I was looking for.
I am not French.
No.
As far as I know, anyway.
Yeah.
I've never done the ancestry thing, but I don't think I'm French.
I did like.
I'm definitely European, but I'm not French.
My dad had an ancestry thing done a while ago, and like I think like the earliest we went back was like somewhere in Norway or like Deutschland, somewhere in that. Those are two very different parts of Europe, but like it's something back
I mean,
there.
Europe's a big place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know what my ancestry is, but
yeah.
I know I'm not fully British. I know I have a little bit of some sort of European place in there. I've got a little bit of Latin in there as well,
Nice.
but I don't know exactly anything.
If you
But yeah,
had, if
I'm not French.
yeah, I'm just not that. Um, if you had like a magic wand or like all the resources in the world,
Mm, I
what is
wish.
right? Yeah, like bro. What is something that you would use that that power or those resources? What is something that you would do to bring about some sort of like general net gain for the community?
Um,
And when I say
I was
the
gonna
community, I don't mean like Fallout specifically. I mean like the community in general.
um world peace.
Right. Okay,
No, I
maybe
mean,
not that general.
I mean, like to be fair, you can't have the positive without the negative. It's like you can't have happiness without sadness. You can't have love without hate.
Mhm.
So the fact of the matter is, like, while world peace would be great and stuff, like it would be too idealistic, and no one would know any different. And
Mhm.
like, I'm not saying, oh, conflict is a good thing because it's not, but like I don't know if world peace would actually be the answer. Like, less violence, less war and needless genocide. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But again, there needs to be a balance.
Mhm.
I'd probably say, I want to say like a better government that isn't trying to squeeze every single penny out of the working class.
Yeah.
Would that be more reasonable?
Maybe. It depends on how you
Because
define
we're all
reasonable penny and government.
um people that actually care about the country that they're in charge of
I don't know. You're
and not just lining their own pockets with cash.
still not really defining government now. I'm just kidding.
It's like, the whole rich get richer thing.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
needs to be binned off.
Yeah.
Like that's disgusting.
Yes.
So a better government that actually cares about people.
How about in like the gaming sphere specifically?
Um okay, we'll narrow it down even further. So we're
Yeah.
not happy with world peace, we're not happy with better government.
That's
But I
kind of
still
like
stand
a
by
given.
both of those choices.
Oh no, yeah, yeah, yeah,
But no, like to keep it relevant,
yeah.
I was intentionally going broad there because
I know.
that's the kind of person that I am.
It's the
I like to
bit.
give, yeah, I like to give very sort of nondescript, but also very, reasonable answers.
It's that
But
dry British humor.
exactly, you're learning.
Yes.
I'd say in terms of gaming, I mean, again, kind of to be broad and to touch upon things that we just talked about as well. Less judgmental, sexist, misogynistic attitudes in gaming communities.
Mhm.
But in terms of like making something that isn't just people focused,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could
I
kind of because it's like would I mean sort of like go with that concept that you're aiming at there. Would you more so point it towards like that? Obviously, you have a very vested interest in seeing less of that as a female streamer and content creator and stuff like that. But is it more so
yeah,
like that specifically or like general, like less of that in general? Because for
just
at the time
less.
we're recording this, like I think like 2 days ago or something, the CEO, I believe the CEO of Helldiver 2 actually pretty much like said like, hey, we need less toxicity in the community in general, not just the Helldiver 2 community, but like in gaming in general. And that's something
Yeah, I mean,
that the Baldur's Gate 3 team has echoed. I think that's something that Bethesda has echoed a little bit. So it's like a general thing that's more so just been like coming up. Are you talking more like in like the generalness of that, or more again like
it's more of a case of just people should be nicer to each other. Not just in gaming, just in general, people should be nicer to each other. I think as much as, I like social media and the internet. I've met so many amazing people through social media and the internet. I've met some of my best friends through these platforms as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also given people a much wider and louder platform to spread their hate and their volatile opinions on things. And over recent years, they've just gotten louder and more aggressive. And I think, now that everyone can have a voice on the internet, people are also getting sick and tired of it too. So that's why a lot of companies are now starting to say, hey, this isn't cool, like, you need to stop, it's been going on for far too long. But of course, for as long as people have independent thought, which is, hey, forever, there are going to be people that are going to hate other people. There's going to be people that are going to fight other people. There's people that are just going to be mean for the sake of being mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ideally just want people to be nicer, and in the gaming community, be less toxic. Like, the hardcore gamers that have been gaming for, like, as long as the industry has existed, there's always been a stigma around gamers anyway. They've always been the outcast. They've always been the stereotype, like, nerdy, unpopular, antisocial kids that no one likes. That's why they gamed, to isolate themselves from other people. That's, that was the stereotype. So why do gamers insist on tearing down other gamers? Like, gaming has become such a mainstream thing now. People, as I said, like me, who were, like, secret gamers when they were younger because they didn't want to get, bullied or harassed, are now like, yeah, I game, I love it, I've been gaming my whole life. Like, why can't we all just support each other and enjoy the fact that there are so many other gamers out there who all like different genres, play on different consoles, have different favorite games, have different least favorite games? Why can't we just respect that there are other gamers and that we all have our own different views and opinions and histories with the industry as a whole? Like, why can't people just respect that? That's what I want. Just more respect for other gamers in the community.
What keeps you grounded? What keeps you, what keeps your head above water? What keeps you pressing forward and thinking happy thoughts, as opposed to like, oh, everything's awful, everything's bad, it all sucks so much? You're laughing, so it kind of makes me think like you don't have one, which is going to make this part a little weird. But like, I
just love that there was the connection of me just going on a massive rant about people being nice to each other, to be like, yeah, well, what makes you grounded? It kind of feels like that just was the start of like a therapy session or something.
Yeah, like, tell me about your dad. What was your relationship with your mom like?
But yeah, I'd say for me, because I've just seen that kind of stuff like my whole life, I've just kind of, I hate that I've accepted that as being a thing that exists, but it's like, it is a thing that exists. So, I will stand my ground on things that affect me, but I'm not someone that's going to actively, like, seek out arguments with people. Like, oh, that person has a different opinion to me, I'm going to write a flipping essay to them and say why they're wrong, and they're stupid, and they don't look nice. Just some random nonsensical insults that mean nothing to the point they were originally trying to make. Like, people are just too hostile for the sake of being hostile.
Right.
And I just don't seek out conflict with people. Like, I am someone that understands that everyone on this planet is unique, and, just accept people for being different. Like, I don't like arguing with people. I don't like getting angry. It genuinely takes a lot for me to just explode in a fit of rage. It really does. And I think that's just come with just, maturing as an adult and learning how the world works and learning who I am as a person. I would just rather keep things neutral, keep things calm, and just try and make the most out of life. Like, you only have one chance to live on this planet, so why fill your life with negativity and hate when you can just make the best out of what you got? I mean, obviously everyone has different experiences in life. Everyone has different pasts, different relationships with people, but like, you just take what you got, work with it, and just live the best life that you can. There's no need to, be aggressive or start arguments with people. So I just try and keep grounded in that way. And, it's my job as an entertainer to be entertaining. People aren't going to find entertainment in me just starting arguments with people. Like, I know there are some very popular creators that are popular for the sake of being controversial or having very heated opinions on things. But that's just not who I am as a person. I don't find enjoyment in that. I don't like any of those creators. They don't seem like nice people to talk to or engage with. I know a lot of them are probably just doing it for the engagement farming, but it's just not the kind of things that I'm interested in. And, I just want to enjoy things. I want other people to enjoy the work that I do, not just in streaming and gaming, but in all the aspects of my career, like from the theatre and the immersive performances and the acting and the voice acting. Like, I just want people to enjoy the things that I do. And if I'm an actor who's like negative all the time, or if I'm a voice actor that hates every production that I'm on, or if I'm a streamer that just bitches about other streamers all the time, then I'm creating a negative atmosphere that's only going to surround me with more negativity. And I don't want that. I don't want to build up a community on that. And I'm sure my existing community doesn't want to be a part of that either. So it's like, why would I promote something like that that isn't healthy for my mindset, for my lifestyle, or for other people's lifestyles? So
All
yeah,
right.
I don't really want to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
So I just try to keep myself grounded for my mental health's sake and for other people's mental health.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Letitia Lemon. To support the Atomcast, remember to like and follow and subscribe to our Patreon, where your monthly contributions will go towards improving the quality of transmission and help to decrease the time between uploads. Until next time, a happy belated International Women's Day. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all out there in the wasteland.